Okay, how long do you think you can go without oxygen?
Not very long.
Okay, are you ready to hold your breath?
Okay.
On three, we're going to see how many seconds you can hold your breath for. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Let's see. That wasn't very long. That was like
I'm
maybe,
not good at holding my breath.
that was almost 20 seconds. Okay, well, where does our oxygen come from?
From trees?
From trees? Okay, well, we're going to learn how trees and other plants and other photosynthetic organisms create oxygen and why they do that. So our purposes today, what we're going to learn is what are the inputs and outputs of photosynthesis, and we're going to learn how plants use the products of photosynthesis. So here's our first question for you today. What do plants require? What do plants require in order to photosynthesize?
They have to have sun.
They have to have sunlight. That's one of them. Can you think of anything else that plants need in order to photosynthesize? Anyone else?
Water?
Water. That's good. I didn't think you guys were going to get that one, but that was good.
Because water, because it's just the things that make them grow, right? Water and sun.
Yeah, that's right. Anything else that you can think of right now?
No.
Okay. What are the products of photosynthesis? What do we get from photosynthesis? Yeah. What do you have?
Like the air, what we were saying about the oxygen?
The air. So we get, what part of the air do we get?
Oxygen?
Oxygen. So we get oxygen from photosynthesis. Is there anything else that comes from photosynthesis?
Probably.
Probably. Okay. Well, we're going to find out today. That's our purpose. Okay. We're going to direct our attention, up here to our screen. So this right here shows the entire photosynthetic process. As we can see, the products of photosynthesis are, like you guys were saying, oxygen. Oxygen's one of them. And sugar, which you guys didn't get to, is also one of them. So why would plants make sugars?
Like food, right? Like energy that they get.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, plants need sugars for all sorts of things. They need it for the storage of energy. They need it to do all the different cellular processes that they do. And they also use it to make cellulose and other molecules for plant structure. So most of what we see in a plant is actually sugars connected together in one way or another. Okay. Now these right here that you can see, these are the things that go into photosynthesis. And you guys got all of these. A lot of times people forget about water. Water is actually needed by plants to photosynthesize. So photosynthesis is actually two separate reactions put together. The first reaction is what they call the light reaction. Why would they call it the light reaction?
Because it has light in it?
Yeah, that's right, because it requires sunlight. And the second reaction is called the dark reaction, or the light-independent reaction. And why would they call it that?
That one probably doesn't need the sun, right?
Yeah, sunlight is not required. Plants can do that part of the reaction even without sunlight. So in the first part, in the light reaction, we talked about chlorophyll already. Chlorophyll receives sunlight and traps it and transports this energy to molecules around it. And that's the chloroplast and the molecules around it, and the other molecules in the chain that receive the energy from chlorophyll are called photosystems. right here we can see the light reaction more completely. This side over here is the photosystem 2, and the side over here is photosystem 1. As you can see, they're backwards. Photosystem 1 was discovered first, and that's why it's called photosystem 1, even though photosystem 2 starts the process. So when light hits photosystem 2, that energy is transported by the electron transport chain to the membrane, in the membrane of the thylakoid, and there it uses that energy to split water. Do you remember does anyone know what the chemical formula of water is?
H2O, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's H2O. So if the hydrogens are split off from the oxygen, what do you suppose happens to those oxygen atoms? Where do they go?
They just go off by themselves somewhere away from the hydrogen?
Yeah, they do. They separate. But where do they go? Do we remember what the products of photosynthesis are?
So it goes in the air?
Yeah, it goes in the air. That oxygen is split off, and it's the byproduct of photosynthesis, which is pretty convenient for us because we breathe oxygen, right? Okay. So the hydrogens go on one side of the thylakoid membrane, where they're concentrated on the inside. The electrons follow this blue line and are then passed to photosystem 2. In photosystem 2, chlorophyll once again receives more energy from the sun, so it uses this energy and the electrons to convert some low energy molecules, which is NADP right here, into a high energy molecule, NADPH. And the plant will then use that NADPH in the light independent reaction later on. It also uses the hydrogens it got from oxygen. As those move from a high concentration to a low concentration, they go through this enzyme called ATP synthase. And every time one of them goes through there, it changes a different low energy molecule, adenosine diphosphate, or ADP, into ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So these two high energy molecules, ADP and ATP, are very important in the light reaction.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
What were the high energy molecules again? Which ones?
The high energy molecules are NADPH and ATP.
Okay.
Alright, so now we're going to go on. If I can make this work. And now we see the light independent reaction. So can you remember why it's called the light independent reaction?
Because there's no sun.
There's no sun. Right. This works completely independent of the light. What it does require, though, are some of the products of the light reaction. So the first thing that happens is an enzyme called rubisco. It's a pretty important enzyme, but you're not going to have to know it right now, so don't worry. Takes carbon dioxide and attaches it, or fixes it is another word for that, to a 5-carbon molecule, making a 6-carbon molecule. So do you remember, does anyone in the class remember what the products of the light reaction were?
Those high energy things.
Yeah, the high energy molecules. You don't have to remember what they are exactly. You just have to remember that it made some high energy molecules that the plant could do things with later. What was the other product of the light reaction? Do you remember?
Wasn't it with the water? No, the oxygen part of the water went into the air.
Yeah, the oxygen, that's exactly right. I'm surprised that you remember that. But the oxygen part of the water goes out in the air, and luckily for us, because we need to breathe it. So, but the important part is, for the dark reaction, is those high energy molecules, ATP and NADPH. So it uses those molecules to turn those 3-carbon molecules back into RUBP, the 5-carbon molecule. And for every 3 times that this goes around, we create 1 extra 3-carbon sugar. That 3-carbon sugar is called G3P. So when you combine 2 of those G3P molecules, we get what plants were trying to make the entire time from photosynthesis. Do you remember what that is?
Wasn't it sugar? Yeah.
That's exactly right. Plants were trying to make sugar, so it makes glucose. So, do we remember what plants can do with sugar? What can they do? Can someone tell me?
I don't remember if it was right or not, but for their energy, like their food, right? Do they use it for food?
Right, they can use it for their food. Does anyone have something else they want to say? Okay. Well, sugars can be used by plants to make starches, and starches are how plants store that energy. Or they can also be used to drive all the different cellular reactions that they have to do, like making DNA, making all their enzymes work, and anything else that a cell needs to do. And they also hook sugar molecules together to make cellulose. And cellulose provides the structure of plants, the bulk, the mass of plants. Most of what you see is going to be cellulose. So plants basically come from this process of photosynthesis. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of a review here. So what goes into the light reaction? What are the things the light reaction needs?
The light.
The light, great.
And the water?
The water, yeah. It needs water because it takes the hydrogens from those water so it can make ATP, one of the high energy molecules. Okay, so what comes out of the light reaction?
What you just said about the molecules, the high energy molecules come out?
Yeah, high energy molecules, and there's one more thing.
The oxygen.
Oxygen, right. The thing that's important to you and me. Okay, so there we go. There's the light reaction. So what goes into the dark reaction?
The high energy molecules.
Right, those are important. Important to remember those. And there's one other thing that goes into the dark reaction. Do we remember what that is?
It's not the oxygen, because that went into the air for us.
Yeah? What do we breathe out?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Yeah, carbon dioxide. That's fixed to the 5-carbon molecule, so it becomes a 6 and is split into 2 3-carbon molecules, and those are used to recreate the 5-carbon molecule, and the extras, because there's an extra every 3 cycles, and that's used to make what?
The sugar?
The sugar. Exactly right. And that's what plants are trying to get at. So here's the entire equation. So the high energy molecules are created and destroyed between the 2 reactions. So what our final equation is sunlight plus carbon dioxide plus water gives us sugar, that's what the C6H12O6 is, and oxygen. Okay, and I think now we're going to pass out this post-test right here. So you're going to have just 3 minutes in order to do this post-test. So you can write down, and then we'll collect that. And as soon as you're done with that, you can leave.